hear the music, you know what that means. It's time for another episode of Live Collider Sports. I'm talking about that Russell Westbrook trade. He's a rocket. Melvin Gordon is holding out. And the women's national team wins back-to-back World Cups. We're going to talk about it all here on Collider Sports Time.
Can't stop talking about Kawhi. Even when it's Melvin Gordon, you get excited about Kawhi Leonard, and I can't say I disagree with that.
I was going to say he's dressed in Clippers colors on top of it.
I'm a converted Clippers fan, I'm not going to lie.
Are you Billy Crystal? Look at you.
How are you doing? Hey, 30-year anniversary of the release of When Harry Met Sally, so shout out to Billy Crystal and the lovely Meg Ryan. Can't they do a sequel to that? How about When Harry or Sally Died? That could be the sequel. Anyway, let's move on.
That is dark.
And speaking of dying, that's dreams that died in OKC last night as Russell Westbrook was traded from the Thunder to the Houston Rockets, ending that situation there that had been started a few years ago with Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant and James Harden. There was all kinds of promise, and sadly, it has gone to pot. So Russell Westbrook is now a Rocket. From what I see here, Chris Paul was part of the trade as well. 2 protected first-round picks the Rockets get in 2024 and 2026. They're protected numbers 1 through 4 picks and 2 pick swaps in 2021 and 2025. I go to one of my guests here, Mark
get
Ellis.
introduced?
I'm about to do it now. I want to do something new. What's wrong with that?
We showed up here early. We were doing our stretches. We were warming up. We were doing what Winston and I do every Friday morning.
Don't lie. I showed up 5 minutes before we went live. I'm not going to lie to the fans. I'm going to be real with y'all.
Yeah. I was going to say, you both had different definitions of early, showing up early rather.
You got to go to Cleaners and get that ugly jersey.
Fine. I know. Fine. You need your ego stroked. All right. Joining me today on the panel, Mark Ellis, basketball superstar from Williamsburg, Virginia.
Look, I've been making the Collider rounds all week, so there's no way that I could say no to sports time. And in fairness, me and my compatriot Winston, we are both representing great athletes from the state of Texas. I got Timmy D.
You do.
I'm rocking Michael Irvin. You got to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like we're talking all-time great teams.
Yeah.
We're talking about potential all-time great teams.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the GOAT. Like we're gonna get to it later, but you know she's the GOAT.
You know.
I'm gonna tease that for you.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that in just a little bit. But let's get your thoughts here now that you've all been properly introduced and everyone's happy. Let's get your thoughts here on this trade. This was in the cards at some point. Certainly, our own Mark Fernandez, who owns us, the channel rather.
He said,
I haven't had to be owned for years. All right, never.
He wanted the Heat to get. He was like going to do an emergency Collider Sports Time show if Russell had gone down to the Heat, but Pat Riley did not want to surrender some of the younger players and some of the picks. So this works out for the Houston Rockets and for the Thunder. What is your thought here overall on this trade here?
I think it works out for the Miami Heat too, because I think that nobody really wanted to take on the Russell Westbrook drama, and I don't think as much as I love Chris Paul, we are from the same university. We are dear friends. But I just think that this is the death knell for his championship dreams of winning an NBA title, because going to OKC, like you said, now it's like the Elvin Graveyard from the Lion King. You know, you go, there's just a lot of pools of bubbling stuff. And I've been to Bricktown. Oklahoma City's great, but that basketball franchise has completely blown up. The promise that Sam Presti and crew gave those fans 10 plus years ago is all gone away. Houston loses a great insurance salesman in Chris Paul. And I think that the real question, Winston, that I have is what is going to be the bigger disaster next season, OKC or Houston? Not in terms of regular season record, because we know that Houston is going to win more basketball games.
Of course.
But once that style of Russell Westbrook and James Harden gets to the playoffs, there is no way that they are competing with either LA team, possibly Golden State with a healthy Klay Thompson. Portland, I think, has a much better playoff caliber team than what we're going to see, that combustible chemistry in Houston.
Well, you know what it reminds me of, this whole situation with Westbrook going to Houston. It's like when you see like a young couple get together and then they break up, and then like you over here thinking to yourself, because remember Harden was 6 man.
Yeah.
So Westbrook was essentially
even starting.
Exactly. So Westbrook was like the dude. So at the time, he's the one with a little bit of fame, a little bit of success, a little shine. Harden was just the girlfriend off to the side. Now Harden is now the CEO of her own conglomerate, of his own conglomerate. And Westbrook out here like trying to come back, hey baby, I still got a little bit over here, like I can do the damn thing. I think the power dynamic is going to be really hard to fix. And I think the truth is there's a reason why Houston can't get over that hump. I think that Harden is a great player, but he's he looks more and more like a better Melo to me every single day. So I'm very curious how this is going to play out between the two of them, if they can go back to what it was and, get along. And if KD going to be over there with his Achilles being, I need to go to Houston.
Yeah, this is, I'm telling you right now, the lunacy of the possibility of him ending up with these two dudes again before their careers are over is in play now. Everybody's been moved. All three of those guys have now been moved off that OKC team, which is pretty incredible. And I agree. I think moving, I think you trade up for a younger player in Russell Westbrook. Can he shoot the three? No, but he certainly can run that offense better than Chris Paul can when you're spelling Harden. Can they work together, though? I wonder what Daryl Morey is going to do. I wonder what D'Antoni is going to do, because Russell does not shoot that three well. Only 29% last year.
Let's think about it in terms of, did OKC do the right thing this time? Because I think we all know that they had Harden and Westbrook and Durant, and you, in retrospect, do not blow that team up. But what they were currently dealing with was they lost Paul George, and so now they have a disgruntled Russell Westbrook all of a sudden, who wants to trade. He was handling it classy behind closed doors, saying, "Look, I want to be traded. Let's see if we can work something out." Yeah. They couldn't make it work with Miami. So did OKC do the right thing, because they got Chris Paul's mega contract? But Chris Paul, I still think he's somewhat of a marquee name to get people in the seats.
Oh, yeah.
I do think Chris Paul is a great leader, especially on people who are willing to be led. James Harden was not willing to be led.
Right.
Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan were not willing to be led. I think Chris Paul can rally the troops, maybe even to an 8 spot in the playoffs, but I feel like OKC kind of had their hands tied in the situation. And as much as we are saying that that's now the graveyard of what it used to be, I don't know that they had any other play.
Well, the other thing I'll put into, there's two things that I see here. One is a superstition, and one is just the thing about Chris Paul. So the first thing with Chris Paul, he is one of the all-time greats, like, for sure. I think the thing that we've kind of realized, though, there's a differentiation between, like, I would almost say like a main alpha and a, like, kind of like a pseudo alpha. Chris Paul kind of puts off that pseudo alpha where he still has like the talent and whatnot, but I feel like he rubs a lot of players the wrong way. Like you mentioned, DeAndre and Blake Griffin were like, bro, like, you're not gonna yell at me, like, get out of here. The same thing, Harden was like, I can't work with this dude. So there's something there with Chris Paul, I think, that is like starting to show. And I think it's a similar personality to Westbrook, to be honest with you. There's this weird, I'm in charge, but it's like, there's a way to be in charge and still involve people.
I love you brought that up, too, because I don't look at Westbrook and Chris Paul to be totally dissimilar players. I do think Chris Paul is a much better team player than Russell Westbrook, especially when it comes playoff time, because Chris Paul knows he has to rely on his teammates a little more than Russell Westbrook, who's going to try to do everything and triple-double his way to a win. But if I'm James Harden right now, I'm saying, okay, well, it didn't get along at the end there with Chris Paul. Who's coming to town now? Well, yeah, I used to play with this guy, but now he's a triple-double machine. Is he going to be barking at me in the playoffs?
Right. Well, and so that's the thing that'll be interesting to me, is to see if they can, again, make that magic kind of work again. Because it was always a little trouble in paradise. Like the trio worked, but there was always trouble in paradise where Westbrook always wanted to be the guy. But KD obviously is a little bit better than him. And even Harden was coming off and doing stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays. My superstition, one of my best friends in college is from Seattle, and he put a forever curse on the Thunder. Why would you take away from a town that loves basketball more than anything? And if you look at it, the highest they ever got was to the finals, and they got swept. And I think that this is the end of that. Like, it's been, what, almost 15 years now since they left, or somewhere close, like 10 to 15. I think that this will be interesting. If there's anything in the Thunder, like, ownership that they're thinking, maybe we should take this back to Seattle. This is your chance, why you ain't got, because Oklahoma City, I'm very curious to see if they still support this team now that they don't have, like, you're right, you do have Chris Paul, but he's more of a distributor than anything. Who's he going to give the ball to?
I feel like Seattle would wrap their arms around a guy like Chris Paul, who, if nothing else, can be accused of being an insane competitor, which is what Seattle wants. And OKC, to their credit, because I'm not from Seattle, and OKC wrapped their arms around the Hornets when the Hornets needed somewhere to go after Hurricane Katrina. And so the NBA saw that. Now, I'm not saying they should have picked up the Supersonics, because that's an all-time franchise, and Seattle loved them. My buddy Adam Ray, who's a great comedian who's from Seattle, he's been tweeting and Instagramming a storm today just about the curse that you're talking about, how everybody in Seattle knew that eventually OKC would get their comeuppance. Fair or not to the fans, but if you move a franchise as beloved as the Supersonics, one day the other shoe is going to drop, and it might have last night.
This is the reverse of Cleveland, where the Cleveland Browns went to Baltimore, won Super Bowls, and Cleveland was still left with a shitty team.
But that's because it's Cleveland, unfortunately.
Sadly for Cleveland. But look at Oklahoma City. We mentioned this whole idea of them, blowing this whole thing up. But they've got 8 first-round picks now. They've picked them up since June 20th. They've picked up 8 first-round picks. They could retain their 2020 pick, which is top 20 protected to Philadelphia, and a 2022 pick, which is lottery protected to Atlanta. They could have 15 first-round picks and swap rights in 4 different seasons between 2020 and 2026. And that's why a lot of people think they won't buy out Chris, that they'll trade Chris by December. Chris will be there with Steven Adams and Danilo Gallinari. We'll see how that plays out with whoever they've got coming in. But this is not a team that you necessarily think is going to win any games.
You know what actually might be interesting?
But they're playing long game like crazy. Yeah.
This might be interesting, but I doubt Toronto does this because I think they're going to try and run back what they want. Yeah. I think if OKC can swing it, you go get Kyle Lowry because he's still young enough. And then you have those picks coming in.
No way Toronto gets rid of Kyle.
But they won't. They won't. No. I know they won't. But like, if I'm OKC, that might be a target I'm looking at just because, like you said, you've got those picks for all that time. Kyle's in the middle of his prime right now. So like, he can hold out. Chris Paul's in the middle of his decline. He's still killing it. But like, you know what I'm saying? He's not the same.
He's just got that injury-prone thing where a long grinding season where Chris Paul, if they do get to the playoffs, it's going to be on the back of Chris Paul. And unfortunately, that hammy or something else, it's not what it used to be. OKC doesn't even have Steven Adams anymore, I don't think.
No, he's on there still.
I thought he escaped. So
not yet. He was trying to get out.
Yeah. It's a tough situation, but I think that Houston, you can get excited about having another star come to town. And look, Russell Westbrook, I would pay top dollar to watch that guy play basketball in person. But I think come playoff time, I think you're still looking in the city that we all currently reside in. Where we all have a flat together. I don't know if you guys know that out there. The 3 of us actually live together. It's a 3-tiered bunk beds. Totally. We have some good basketball to watch locally, and I think those are going to be the 2 teams that possibly could be your Western Conference Finals representatives.
Oh, for sure. And I must say, on the note of our flat, I hate that y'all just let me sleep in. You know how hard I worked out yesterday, but you could have woke me up and said, hey, we got to go work.
Oh, I love when you say that every morning because you're the easiest guy to wake up, and you wake up in such a good mood when we wake you up when you're not supposed to be woken up. Huh? I mean, that's always good.
All I know
take responsibility for your irritatable.
I am the top bunk, okay? Because I don't want either one of these weights falling on me during an earthquake.
Oh, I see.
I'm top bunk.
Right. Hey, I'm svelte. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm 185 pounds soaking wet, and that wet comes from a lot of Coors Light.
What a shock. The white guy gets the top bunk. Listen, you look at this whole thing. Chris Paul has, before we move on here, Chris Paul has 3 years and $124 million left on his contract. Chris Paul, who really cannot even alpha dog lead a first-team unit at this point consistently through an entire season without injury. $124 million. Damn.
It would have been nice if that big 3 in Los Angeles when it was him, DeAndre Jordan, and Blake Griffin. Maybe if either one of those guys could have worked on their game and maybe finally tuned some of their weaknesses, maybe Chris Paul could have led a championship brand. Maybe it's on Blake Griffin, just wanted to be on ESPN every night. And maybe it's on DeAndre Jordan. Maybe he should have shot free throws underhanded. I think Chris Paul was damn good enough to lead them to a championship. It's on the other guys, not Chris.
Every time I think of Chris Paul, I think of Kobe because they have a similar kind of workout warrior mentality. They have a similar kind of what did Kobe say famously before
Give
he
me
retired?
The ball.
What he called in like the last season. Jesus Christ.
Shaq does it too. Shaq does it too. Why are you after me? Yeah, go ahead.
So he said, y'all softer than Charmin or some shit like that. Like,
right.
You know, I think Chris Paul has that same kind of workout warrior mentality.
Yeah, sure.
And some people don't get on with that. You know what I'm saying? So if you notice with Kobe, Metta World Peace is Metta World Peace, so he stepped up. And then Pau Gasol, I think, maybe needed a little ribbing, but he did it. But the rest of that team didn't respond to Kobe doing that. Right. And I think, again, it takes a certain type of person to respond to that mentality.
I don't disagree with you, and you got to win. Jordan had that mentality, and Jordan won. Chris Paul doesn't have the victories, which is why now, after this one, people don't want to listen to him. So we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out, but certainly an exciting trade and more. The NBA is a 12-month league now. Don't give me that crap. 12-month league all the way from beginning to end. Training camp's right around the corner. This is fantastic stuff, and it's going to be an exciting season. I can't wait.
I was going to say, I don't think I've ever been this excited about the NBA, maybe ever, because it is even though you do have the 2 powerhouses in LA, it feels like such an open field because there's been such a shakeup, and this idea of a big 3 is kind of dead now. Yeah. It's maybe 1 or 2 superstars, and then what else can you do? That I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, you got some great soap operas on TV right now at various platforms. You got One Day at a Time, you got Big Little Lies, and you have the NBA free agency / trade period. So and it's in some ways it's more exciting than the actual regular season.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, Kawhi Leonard, now to add a little wrinkle to his move to the Clippers, only signed a 3-year deal with the Clippers, not the 4-year deal that people were saying he was going to sign. He was eligible to earn up to $141 million over the 4 years, but he signed a 3-year deal for $103 million with a player option even in the 3rd year. It'll be a 2+1, which aligns his contract with Paul George, who got traded to the Clippers as well to play with Kawhi. This means that we're getting this from The Athletic. I want to give a shout out to The Athletic. I just signed up for them over their deal. They're a fantastic bunch of writers there. But it sets Kawhi up to get the coveted 10-year max in 2021, where 35% of the cap could be an estimated 4-year, $196 million deal. Jesus. Kyrie Irving and Jimmy Butler
that pays for a nice 3-bedroom flat, doesn't it?
Yeah, right, exactly. But you're going to have Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, LeBron James, Bradley Beal, and Giannis all available in 2021. This was a smart move by Kawhi, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely, and it was a smart move by the Los Angeles Clippers. I don't think anybody should give pushback to the Clippers on, we thought it was a 4-year, now it's only a 2-year with the one on. But, look, the Clippers had to do this, okay? And I think any team would have gladly have done this. Yeah, in 2 years that Kawhi and Paul George may be shopping their wares elsewhere. Yeah. But if you are a guy like either Doc Rivers or Steve Ballmer, the owner, you know that, look, we have 2 years to win these guys over in a place where they both wanted to play, a hometown feel for them. We got 2 years to do this, so we're very confident that we can win these guys over and that they will want to stay with us, and that because the Clippers star is now on the rise, maybe they get their own arena, maybe they move out, maybe they do a lot of different things to get these players to want to sign a 10-year max with them. I think the odds are still in their favor.
I completely agree, and I think you've seen the league has been moving towards this. I think LeBron started this where he kept only signing these 2 to 4. Like he typically wouldn't do 4. He did 4 in Miami. Yeah. But he went to Cleveland and signed 2 with an option.
He did 1-year deals.
Or he did the one.
Yeah,
he did
the 1 year.
one.
It was the 2 with the Lakers, or 3 with the Lakers.
3 with the Lakers. So I think that we've been setting the stage for this, and not only is it putting more power in the hands of the players, I think it's giving organizations the opportunity that if Kawhi shows up and he genuinely just does not work here, or Paul George, because a lot of people forget that Paul George used to date Doc Rivers' daughter, and then there was that whole, he cheated on her.
This is good.
I didn't know that.
What? Oh, yeah. So Paul George used to date Doc Rivers' daughter, and he cheated on her. So there's, the NBA is a big soap opera, right? So if all of a sudden Paul George gets there and that doesn't work, great. Then you only have to deal with it for a couple years, and you can ship them both off if you want to. If Kawhi is that loyal to Paul George, for example, then you could say, cool, let's get out of here. Okay. But I think this offers an opportunity for both camps to really decide what they want to do. If this is the perfect marriage you wanted, great. They're your 2 superstars until they retire. And if they're not, then you're like, great, thank you for your service, and you just send them on, and that's it. I think this really works for everybody.
And look, this really is the way that it should be, because for so long in any sports league, the ownership had all of the power over the players, where you can sign them to whatever you want. And then, like you said, LeBron comes along and really ushers free agency a few steps forward. And I think that this is right. Look, now Kawhi and Paul George, you can get behind them for the 2 seasons that they're going to be here, maybe 3, maybe 4, maybe more. But you should not be able to lock a player into a lifetime contract.
Yeah, and I think this is the new thing. Back in the 90s, it's pretty much well known that these players had this kind of power to demand this kind of money, but didn't show up and work out and do what needed to be done. We have the famous Iverson practice stuff. Chris Webber jumping from place to place, he made the most money of any player with the least amount of results. And so you saw, but player movement back then gets a negative vibe. This nowadays, players are going to Germany to get their body in the best shape possible. They're learning how to eat. They're working out. They've got revenue streams. They're really focused on their career as a brand. So having them become in charge of their own movements, I don't think is a negative. Certainly owners would love to cut contracts as quickly as they could when a player isn't showing up. So if a player does get the ability to kind of dictate their own destiny because they've earned it, I don't think it's a negative now.
It's watching what a lead dog does. And the lead dogs in the 80s were Magic and Larry, and they stayed with their teams. The lead dog in the 90s was MJ, and he stayed with his team. If MJ or either one of those guys in the 80s had the ability or the desire to go somewhere else and form another super team, then I think that this would have happened earlier. But everybody's seeing LeBron have the ability to move, play with his friends, win championships in multiple destinations. Everybody's saying, well, now it's my turn. And I think that Kawhi and Paul George, are the odds-on favorite to do that this next season.
I agree.
Yeah, we'll see. I like some of the comments here from the fans. Captain Dingleberry, nice name. He says you should nickname him CP 3 to 6 weeks. Yikes.
Dingleberry. I remember you from Movie Talk. Come on, Dingleberry. Keep it
I like
clean.
that. I like that.
3 to 6 weeks.
Jenna James says, "Oh, y'all didn't know about Doc's daughter? She never mind. Seth Curry locked her down. I don't know what that means."
Save that comment for later. Save that
that's more
later.
for the after dark sports time. Fillmore,
Such a good soap opera.
Oh, bro. You don't know. Look, all the best soap operas on TV. You said
It's fantastic.
Big Little Lies, One Day at a Time.
One Day at a Time.
Yeah.
And Swamp Thing.
All right.
Swamp Thing has become a soap opera.
Yeah.
Is it still airing?
It is. It's still going on. It's only got 10 weeks, right? Or 10
got
Are we
more
all paying for the
episodes.
DC app? Or
I am
we
not.
have the
no.
flat together?
I'm
Or is it
getting
just Winston?
I thought Winston's paying for this because I got Netflix.
I told y'all can't have my passwords no more. You
Yeah.
started putting comments on things that I don't approve of. Y'all are done with that.
Tyson Chandler just signed on to Houston. I don't know what that does. Enrique Aguilar giving some love to Winston, says Cowboys NFC champs 2020. So we'll see. Yeah, they got to get a.
Not saying it's not going to happen. I'm just saying.
I am.
Why is it every time I come on the show, I get in an argument with somebody about football?
Come on, man.
Because you're a Cowboys fan.
You're a Cowboys fan.
I mean, I
they don't
guess.
even have a coach.
No, but I was talking shit about the Steelers last time.
Oh, yeah, no, Makuga. You can't do that with Makuga.
Makuga was like, okay, I'm just going to, he don't know I'm a Steelers fan. I'm just going to.
He was ramping up into it.
Yeah, y'all got that pent-up aggression from the 70s.
Hey, and y'all got the pin-up aggression from
The 80s.
nothing?
The 80s. We won
What
Super
did-
Bowls in
did-
the 80s, dog.
Did you, though?
Yes.
Or did the rest of the league just decide to take a nap?
I have it on VHS that they won.
I seem to remember a young man named Darryl Green catching Tony Dorsett
Yes,
from behind
the great TD.
at RFK Stadium.
Hey,
right.
you know,
I also remember
happens.
Mark Brunell throwing 2 fourth-down touchdown passes from midfield on a Monday night
Santana Moss.
to Santana Moss. I remember that.
I'm sorry,
Both
what-
those teams were so bad.
I'm sorry, what have you done for me lately?
I hated Mark Brunell and the Redskins. All right, let's move on to a player who also has a bit of a checkered past. DeMarcus Cousins, he has signed on for the Lakers now. This was this past week. He's been doing the rounds on the press, talking about how he's excited to be reteamed with Anthony Davis on the Lakers, and of course, kissing that LeBron James butt as you're supposed to, and as LeBron deserves to have his butt kicked. But he said, me and I have talked about it numerous times about being teammates again. We never wanted it to end, but everything happens for a reason. They played about a season together, and Davis apparently helped recruit Cousins to the Lakers. Really? Cousins needed help being recruited. He signed a 1-year deal worth $3.5 million, and now we'll see what happens. This is incredible. He's signing these really low-end deals for a guy who was an all-star in Sacramento for so many years. It's surprising.
It's surprising, but I'm not shocked that he wanted to play again with Anthony Davis, because when they were both healthy in New Orleans, that actually worked really well. I mean, a lot of people laughed at that initially.
They did.
And then you see him on the court, and it's like, well, it's not the classic version of modern basketball that we know where you're jacking threes from midcourt, but it was productive. Now, and I think that kind of style of basketball can translate into the postseason better than something like what we were talking about earlier with Houston, with Westbrook and Harden. So if DeMarcus Cousins can stay healthy, that's the big question mark.
Yeah.
I don't question whether he can be a good team player because of the leadership you have with LeBron James, Anthony Davis there too. I think that DeMarcus Cousins could be the steal of the season if he stays healthy.
Well, I mean, he proved that coming in playing for the Warriors, and that he came in that one game and he did work, and like it literally felt like a god. If he could have come back healthier earlier, like could they have just stomped out Toronto?
Absolutely.
They would, like, you know what I mean? Like it's very interesting. So I think one, he's clearly doing this in the same breath of everybody else doing these 3-year contracts. He's doing this because he wants a ring. So he's like, I don't care. I'll take whatever. I've made my money. I'll do it. 2, I think I agree he didn't really want to leave Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
But New Orleans is kind of a dumpster fire town for basketball because they're a football town, honestly. And so there's this weird back and forth where you don't necessarily see the same kind of love for the Pelicans that you do for the Saints. So I think that he probably didn't want to leave Anthony Davis, but I think something was rotten and they both were like, we kind of got to get out of here. And Anthony Davis needed another year before he could do that.
Yeah.
So I think that this is going to be a great marriage. I think you're looking at like the new version of the Twin Towers plus the Empire State Building and LeBron, where all of a sudden you're getting the two of them down, just like whatever. Cousins occasionally can drack up a 3, but you know LeBron and Anthony Davis can do it, and you still got Kuz. Like, this is going to be a crazy team, to be honest with you.
I agree, and I don't know what's going to happen to me. And don't be surprised that Chris Paul is wearing a Lakers uniform by December.
Oh, my Lord.
That is certainly possible.
Hang on. You can't just surprise me with
I'm just
stuff
saying,
like that.
That's certainly possible.
What do they have left?
I don't know. Maybe the
You gonna
carcass
ship
of
off Rondo?
Cousins. Maybe the carcass of Cousins in the trade. That's certainly possible to throw him on to back to or down in OKC. That's certainly possible. But I think they need a point guard. They don't have a point guard. LeBron cannot play point forward. I'm sorry, not consistently through the whole game.
Not if you want to hold up in the postseason.
Yeah, nope.
Rondo is so interesting to me because there were flashes of him still being able to play very well last season when he was healthy and not punching or spitting at anybody. So I think that Rondo has a shot if you got to look at coaching here. You got to look at what Vogel's doing if Vogel remains the coach for all 82 games. If you're able to spell Rondo and LeBron and maybe somebody else at point enough to where nobody's getting too exhausted to make a deep postseason run. What's really the thing about this, just as an NBA fan, it would have been very interesting to watch DeMarcus Cousins stay with Golden State because of how decimated they are now, with KD leaving, with Klay not being able to play the first half of the season. This really could have been Boogie saying, no, I am still one of the best players in the league, and he opted to go to a stacked team. So I think Golden State, that would have been interesting for me as a fan to watch, but I totally understand the decision to go chase a ring with your friend.
Because he tore his Achilles, right? If I remember correctly.
His quad.
So he tore his quad.
Well, yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So my whole thing with DeMarcus, I get it. He's probably like, look, my body, like I'm good enough to play still, and I'm good enough to put up points, but he's probably a little tired.
Yeah,
like,
tore his Achilles and his quad.
And his quad. Yeah, right.
So like those are two drastic injuries where I'm sure he can still do it, but every time he gets home at night, he's probably like, oh shit. So I'm sure he's like, let me get this ring while I can. And once I have it, if I keep playing, I keep playing. And if I don't, I'm out. I understand that.
You know what's crazy? He's only 28.
That's wild.
Right? It feels like he's 40. It feels like this whole Lakers team is Uncle Drew. It feels like his whole team, because they're all kind of getting into that older area. They all have injury histories. Yes, I know Anthony Davis is the youngest of the crew, and so is Kuzma, but that's Elrell Howery and the other guy. Like, it feels to me like you're getting these older guys back together. And if Melo shows up on this damn team and CB3 shows up on this damn team,
please don't bring Melo.
And Amari Stoudemire comes out of retirement to play for this damn team, you better believe this is an Uncle Drew team, and they're going nowhere.
Melo's interesting.
Look, man.
Melo's interesting. He can still score a little bit.
I'm going to put money on it right now. Dwayne Wade and Dirk are going to come out of retirement.
No way Dirk comes back. No way.
And this is going to be the basketball version of Red. And they're just going to come in. And everybody's going to be like, what is happening? The Expendables? Oh, my God. Please, Dirk, don't do this. I love you with all my heart. Please don't ever become a Laker. Stay a Maverick your whole career.
So good.
Please stay retired.
There's no way Dirk comes back.
Yeah, at least we know Tim Duncan's staying retired. At least we know Tim Duncan's not paying attention to any of this crap.
Nah, Tim's good. Tim's got his khakis. He's chilling and drinking his Arnold Palmer's. Like, Tim is good. He don't need nothing.
He's swimming in the Virgin Islands right now. He's having a blast. Do you, Tim?
People asking where Monte Ellis is going to go or Jamal Crawford. Respect, I guess. Respect. Y'all be giving some love. Maybe they're going to end up on the big three. That'll be the way it goes. We'll see. Shout out to Baron
Bring
Davis.
back Stephon Marbury. If he's in China crushing it, right?
Bro,
bring back Steph.
Bro, yeah. Terrell Owens all of a sudden going to be on the team. He'll come in and be
what's Master P doing? I'm sure he can still put the ball in somewhere.
Tio used to come in. Tio used to come in and hoop at the 24-hour fitness in Hollywood.
Who did? In NoHo. Terrell Owens.
What?
Oh, he was dunking on fools. It was crazy.
Really?
Oh my God, it was amazing.
Tio's that guy. Like everybody, whenever you play at 24-hour fitness, there's always like the one guy that comes in and just dominates, and he's like the worst team player. Everybody's so good, you just kind of play with him, like, well, at least I'm burning calories, And Tio is that guy times 100 because he still has that.
He was still a pro athlete, and like he was an elite pro athlete. Like he honestly, which I can't remember, because I know both him and Ocho Cinco were having issues getting the Hall of Fame. Terrell finally got in, right? Or did
Tio got in? Rich didn't go to the Hall.
He did his own thing.
Speech from his front yard.
Right. Exactly. So he's still a Hall of Fame professional elite athlete. So like, of course he can dunk on people. Like it's nobody's business. But I've seen him. I've seen Chris Brown in there. I've seen like a multitude of like celebrities.
Wow.
Just embarrassing people like out on that court. It's very fun to watch. I'm not gonna lie. I sit there and I go, oh damn, y'all look like trash. I'm gonna go over here and lift my 15s because that's pathetic.
It's like you'll be running in a couple games in a row, and those guys come in, and then I'm like, I'm gonna go stretch the old hand base for this game.
I don't want to hurt anything.
Yeah.
Well, we gotta say this in a sad note for the San Antonio Spurs, Mark Ellis's team. They lost out on Marcus Morris.
Yeah, we did.
He reneged on his deal, signed with the Knicks instead for 1 year and $15 million to stay on that east side of the bracket there. I don't think it's a smart decision in my personal opinion, but you know, I'd rather go get coached by Pop than Fizdale over there in New York.
Yeah, but look, I mean, as time has told us, the New York Knicks ownership is just so rock solid. There's just no reason. Like, do those checks even clear? I look at going to play for James Dolan, like, as a comic on the road, like you're doing that club where you know that the check might not cash the next week, and you're like, I hope these shows sell out. It's like the owner's trying to pay you in Coke like it's the 80s again. Like, I don't know what those checks look like. I don't know if you have to go get them cashed at a special place. I wouldn't have done it, but hey, go make your money.
Yo, 5-1 on this. That he's got his uncle owns like a really nice flat, and he lives with two of his best buddies, and so he just didn't want to leave New York. Fair. So he's like, I'm just gonna stay here, man. Like, I'm enjoying it up here. So, also, I'm from Dallas, man. Let me tell you right now, San Antonio is one of the most boring places on the planet. Are you from San Antonio?
He's a massive Spurs fan.
I am not.
I don't have a problem. Like, the Spurs is the most exciting thing in San Antonio.
I enjoy the Riverwalk.
Yeah,
the river, sure, but like
I enjoy the anthropology at the Riverwalk.
That's what I was gonna say. So if literally the only thing you had in Los Angeles was, say, Disneyland, you telling me that like you're just gonna live at Disneyland the whole time?
Right.
Like it's San Antonio.
Orlando's pretty boring without Disneyland. Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that San Antonio is a dope place to go play because of Pop. And they're always in the mix because of Pop. But unless they look like they're gonna maybe really do something, I can understand someone being like, "That's okay, bro. Like I'm good."
That's how phenomenal Pop and him getting Timmy and them winning the lottery then that made San Antonio a basketball destination where it really had no right being. Despite that, I will give a big shout out to the other big attraction in San Antonio, LOL Comedy Club, where I'll be performing. I don't have any dates there yet, but maybe sometime.
So you were also one of the biggest attractions in San Antonio.
I was that weekend, third biggest. It was the Spurs, Alamo Draft House, and then me at LOL Comedy Club 2 years ago.
Here's my prediction from a year from now. Greg Popovich will be coaching the Lakers next season. That's my prediction.
Okay.
That's my
you
prediction.
got away with your Chris Paul one.
I'm just saying.
You sold me on Melo.
That's possible.
3 strikes and you're out.
No, that's possible. I could see it because, you know, if this team, San Antonio's been on one team for a long time, I could see it happening. We'll see.
I have a solid question to throw at both of y'all, being a Texas boy, because I'm confused right now. So what is it about, even though you have the no income tax playing in Texas, what is it that these teams or that these players are not getting super attracted to go into these Texas teams? It's very interesting to me because, like, even the Mavs, you got Rick Carlisle, like, you know what I'm saying? You have, like, Luka's amazing. You had Kristaps. Like, it was hard to get there. I jokingly was telling my friend, the Mavs now look like first team all white right now with the people they brought in.
You mean Duke? Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I'm very curious why it is that people are not interested in going down to these Texas teams, because you're having great coaches down there. You're having, like, the no income tax. Like, you would think that they want to, like, go in and ball out, but
we'll talk about that on our other show, Collider Politics. Let's move on to.
I was just going to bring up the NBA is a very liberal league, and maybe the perception of Texas is that it's very.
Yeah, and people have had trouble in certain cities. So, all right, let's move on to something a little more positive, but no less political. The U.S. women's national team won their World Cup here, back-to-back World Cups this past Sunday. I want to talk about because this is a team that I've been rooting for since the 90s when Michelle Akers was on that team. We had Kendra Dissain-Aubin from Fox Sports on for a special interview to talk about, and she predicted this team would go all the way. They were ranked #1 in the world. They did their business, not without some drama, not without some political stuff going on. But I want to ask you gentlemen here, these are women that came together, won back-to-back World Cups. Is their legacy now as one of the upper echelon teams ever in the history of American sports? Not just women's World Cup or women's soccer, but sports in general.
Oh, hands down, I think so. I think that the 99 Women's World Cup may be a little more memorable simply because you had such a dramatic climax to it with Brandi Chastain hitting the penalty shot and then doing the sports bra thing. But with this team, everything that they meant on and off the field, politically, yes, but I think on the wider scope of things, to little girls and boys watching them represent us on foreign soil, where there's so many other teams that the United States has sent besides our basketball team. it's kind of slim pickings as to what you can really be proud of and say, look at what we won internationally with on a stage like this anyway. So I think that they were great. I enjoyed everything about Alex Morgan, Megan Rapinoe, and everybody else involved with that team. It was a lot of fun to watch, and I thank them for winning the World Cup on my birthday. It was a nice present.
That was on your birthday? That's so cool.
That's great. What do you think, Winston?
I mean, I agree. Whenever I think of GOATs, I think of two things. I think automatic, and I think, did they kind of rise above their sport? And when I think of this team, that's exactly what I think of. I feel like their wins were so automatic. They set the tone so fast with that 13-0 game that already brought whatever type of controversy, but Michael Jordan wasn't without controversy. Tom Brady isn't without controversy. Like, you know what I'm saying? So that, to me, makes sense, where, like, you're such a winner that, like, people are like, well, do you have to win like that? Like,
you're right.
So they are so automatic when I think of like all-time greats at this point that, of course, I think that they have cemented themselves as one of those teams. Like, I think the same thing is true of, like, you think of the 90s Bulls, you think of, like, the Warriors the past, like, couple, you think of the Patriots, the run they've did this last decade. Those are things that you will never forget. You'll know exactly where you were when this was happening. You know that she was fighting, that Megan was fighting with Trump and all that kind of stuff. Like, the fact that they were standing for equal pay for women across the board, but especially in sports, like, these are all things that you will always think of on top of the fact that they always won. Yeah. So, like, I definitely think that this isn't even like a debate. Like, they are an all-time great team for sure.
Yeah, I think that what you bring up with the 99ers, I think what they took what the 99ers did and they built on it even more so. And I think this is the greatest women's team we've ever seen, because the competition was so much better at this World Cup than it ever been in any other World Cup, because all these European teams and these European countries are pouring money into their women's program over the last 8 years, and we've seen the results. And so the games are tighter, the games are stronger. You know, Hope Solo was complaining from overseas because no one gave her a platform here in America to talk about the style of play that Jill Ellis was playing, but the style of play worked. She understood you had to choke the life out of these teams because their offenses are free-flowing. They haven't caught up yet on the defensive side. So Jill knew you had to play them defense once you went up, and that's what she did. She systematically, every game would go up, except for the Thailand game, would go up and then slowly choke the life out of that team defensively. So she knew how to use her team. We'll see what happens 4 years from now. This idea that America is automatic now, you talk about GOAT, it may not be anymore as these players and this money comes in. Well, and the training as well.
No, for sure. And I think the big thing to keep in mind with that too is this team is going to drastically change in 4 years. Absolutely. A lot of people are going to retire.
There's no Morgan, there's no Rapinoe.
Right. So that for sure. But I'm saying that the fact that the legacy of this team that's gone on in this past decade and these past 2 World Cups and whatnot, it has been so, because the same thing, like, I'm very curious what happens with the Patriots, not to shift full gears, but like Gronk retired. Yeah. And obviously Brady's been doing his thing, but how much is that going to change losing your number one weapon? So this will be very interesting to see where these ladies are in 4 years, but they've more than earned their clout.
They're and all the stuff that we remember them for, like the hot water scenarios. Keep in mind what our male athlete heroes do on and off the field. I mean, we're not talking about anybody on the Women's World Cup team getting arrested. Nobody's getting caught gambling late night. Nobody's doing any of these other things. They're sipping tea and they're criticizing our crappy president. Like, that's the worst thing that you can accuse them of. They had a good time beating the crap out of everybody else in the world, and I think it should be celebrated.
Agreed. And their criticism isn't from the criticism is about inclusion. It's not about exclusion, and that's a good criticism I think everybody can get behind. All right, let's move on to a disgruntled player, not a gruntled player, a disgruntled, and that's Melvin Gordon for the San Diego
I am
Chargers.
Very gruntled on this show. I am gruntled. I am happy.
I'm having a gruntled good time, and he is threatening to hold out here, probably 5 years too late for running backs. He threatened to hold out right now. He has a trade. He wants a trade demand with a contract extension. This is coming from ESPN. The agent for Melvin Gordon, informed ESPN that Melvin Gordon won't report to training camp. He's going to demand a trade if the Chargers do not sign him to a contract extension. He is set to make $5.6 million this year, which marks the 5th-year option on his rookie contract. Todd Gurley, Le'Veon Bell, and David Johnson are making $13 million each. And now Ian Rappaport from NFL Network is saying that Gordon is willing to extend his holdout into the season and miss games like Le'Veon Bell did. Winston, I go to you first as the NFL guy wearing the shirt. You hear this. Holding out as a running back when you saw David Conner step in, when you saw Williams step in for Kansas City, this seems like a waste of time, and he may not get the positive money he's looking for.
whenever I see this, I never feel like I always side with the players that decide to hold out, specifically in the NFL. I feel a little differently about other things, but you're still putting your body on the line. But the NFL in particular, what do they say? That every hit is like a car crash? And especially with the shelf life of the average NFL player is 3 years. With running backs, even if you're an elite running back, they maybe are in there for 6 to 7 seasons. I mean, look at the people that are still playing now. Like Adrian Peterson, as great as he was, barely really a blip. Like LaShawn McCoy, kind of in and out, like stuff like that. So
went right for that Redskin, didn't you? Nice. Okay, go ahead.
He's a Redskin now?
Oh, you know what?
I genuinely forgot because he was on Buffalo last year. Didn't he just get traded over in the offseason?
I'm not going to cater to this.
Okay, you know what? My point is I do not have a problem. I do not have a problem with anybody trying to secure the bag. Like that's the big thing at the end of the day is I think he sees the forest from the trees here, and he's very aware of the fact that like he may or may not end up being one of those all-time greats. He's already got a lot of competition with Barkley and Elliott and Gurley and Bell and all these cats that are doing it, that it's like, if I'm going to get my money, I got to get it right now. And if you also consider that like the Los Angeles Chargers are really the redheaded stepchild of Los Angeles, they're behind, the Lakers, the Dodgers, the Clippers, the Rams, the Kings, and then it's the Chargers. Most of that team didn't even want to move. Like Phillip Rivers was already throwing out trade demands a couple years ago when they came up here. So I don't blame him for being like, I'm not really feeling how we're treated as like an organization. Nobody really cares about us up here. I'm putting my body on the line 24/7, and it clearly worked in one way or the other. Sure, Le'Veon didn't stay with Pittsburgh, but now he's got the contract he kind of wanted up in New York, and he can go and do things. Like, if he realizes he's not necessarily going to get put on a team that's automatically going to win a chip, get your money while you can. How much was he in college? All these players in college not getting their money. So get your money.
And I don't totally agree with the notion that KC and Pittsburgh were fine after their marquee running backs went away, because they did lose something. I think Pittsburgh, they realized the hand they were dealt, and I think that the Pittsburgh players realized, look, our team is not budging on this, so we have to kind of move on and experience life after Le'Veon. But if you're the Chargers, if you're Melvin Gordon right now, you're looking at the landscape, not just of the league, not just of other running backs, because you are an elite running back, and you're looking at your team, and you're saying, we have an ancient quarterback who has a couple, if that, more good seasons in him. And I think Phillip Rivers is a very good quarterback. This team is primed to win now or not win at all. If you are the Chargers, I'm sorry if you don't like what Melvin Gordon's saying. Your hands are tied. You need to pay this man his money, because he is the key to getting you over that hump and becoming the biggest NFL team in Los Angeles. Because I don't know what the Rams are going to do. I don't know how the Rams are going to be. I imagine they're going to be pretty good, but I think San Diego is ready to take that leap. I think that the Chargers and the Chiefs could potentially be the crux of the most exciting division in the NFL next season. But a lot of that is because of a talent like Melvin Gordon. So the running backs, like I agree with everything Winston said about your shelf life. You have to realize you have 5 years. For the rest of your life, these 5 years are going to be what is the primary source of your income for life, for your kids' lives, for your grandkids' lives. Go make your money.
Yeah, he's swimming upstream here, because right now, according to the NFL, pass plays average 6.4 yards versus running plays, which were 4.4 yards last year in the NFL. And every position is earning less on average, except for kickers and punters, and that includes running backs. They're earning less on their average than they had before. And having Todd Gurley with that arthritic knee after the Rams signed him to such a big contract doesn't help his case that much. But I agree. Melvin has never shown sign. He had a little bit of an injury last year, but that's the first time he's really been out a significant amount of time. He carried my fantasy sports teams last year in both different leagues. And so I say, as Teddy KGB would say, pay that man his money. So
pay his money.
Let's move on. Yeah. Let's move on to Winston's favorite story on the rundown here. Serena Williams. She is playing in the Wimbledon final. She's playing Simona Halep, who she kind of owns, to be honest with you, if you look at the career record between both of them. But she is going for something really big. This is her 24th Grand Slam singles title, which would tie her with Margaret Court, who is the holder of the most titles in the Grand Slam era. This is an incredible achievement, coming back from having had a baby to now, and was on the ropes in a couple of rounds here in this tournament. Now she's in the final. Winston, is she the greatest female tennis player of all time, hands down?
I would make the argument that she's the greatest female athlete of all time.
Wow.
And I would even say that she's in the top 10, if not higher, of greatest athletes of all time.
Okay.
She, again, automatic.
Yes.
Completely automatic. Completely changed the landscape of her sport at this point. Like how many people of color, but specifically black girls, have you seen now coming in and shaking things up? I cannot remember the girl's name that just played Venus that won.
Goff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Osaka as well. You know what I'm saying? Like
Osaka's been fantastic.
She has changed the landscape of her sport. She's been like a social advocate like nobody's business. But beyond everything else, the thing that she does is play tennis, and she embarrasses most people that play her. She's not immortal. Like, you know, she's not invincible. Like, just like any athlete, you can lose any day of the week. But like, she is so automatic. Like That's really all I have to say. But I'm super excited to see. I hope she does this.
Yeah.
That's it, man. Whenever you come up with something else, I'll talk about it.
In the landscape of modern women's tennis, I think that you can look at tennis stars and say, well, they're as famous for what they do off the court as what they are on the court. If you look at somebody like obviously like at Kornikova, or even like somebody like Maria Sharapova, who's been a great champion, but also has had some controversy. When it comes to Venus Williams, don't forget she started out in the shadow of Serena started out in the shadow of Venus, and it's like, well, you got the little sister, but Venus is the one, and then Serena rockets from being the little sister to being one of the greatest champions in any sport of all time. Usually I look at that question and I say, well, Serena Williams is in the final. Is she the GOAT? I'd be like, well, let's see if she wins it. That's not relevant in this case. I mean, like you said, I saw the stat that like she's been in 13 Grand Slam finals, or in the past 13 years, she's either been in the finals or won a Grand Slam event. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty. Did she have a baby?
Right,
bro. Like you're right back in the game, and getting back to elite shape. I can't think of 10 athletes, male or female, that would be better than Serena Williams.
And that's where I might even backtrack it. And that's what's so funny, because we don't ever think of shit like that. Excuse me, I did gotta stop cursing babies.
It's all right.
I can't think of a single male athlete that could do any of that ever. Like at all. Maybe Michael or Kobe again because of the workout warriors.
I would say Tiger. I would. Oh, you mean have a baby and then come back?
Because you could make the argument because she's having a baby, and I know she still won a title while she was pregnant before, didn't she?
That's crazy.
Like she was out there winning the title while she was pregnant.
Give a male athlete that responsibility. Carry a life inside of you to term, and then go win a championship.
But that's exactly my point. Is like you could almost consider it a catastrophic injury in the sense that like your body is completely shifted. You're not the same fine-tuned thing that it was at the time. And she found a way to not only have the kid, but within months be right back to this I can't think, like even Kobe, when he came back from that Achilles, wasn't all of a sudden, I know that's a little different, but like he didn't just automatically go back to being Kobe or any sort of athlete is done. Like that's a huge deal. That is a huge deal.
I think it's Serena. Then I think it's Tiger. Coming back from all of his and is some self-inflicted wounds there with him. I think you could go as far back as like Ben Hogan was in like a near fatal car crash and had to take like a year to repair his entire body. Then he kept winning major championships in a different era. But there are so few athletes that I would put up there because of, again, Winston's criteria I think is correct, where it's like if you are considered the GOAT, it's not just your athletic prowess, because then you would throw people like Bo Jackson into the mix. I think rightfully so. I love Bo, but it's like, show me the ring, show me the championships, and Serena backs it all up in spades.
It's just absolutely crazy to me, honestly, because you just mentioned those two injuries. That's still Tiger's been fighting this for like almost a decade now to try and get back to and he's still not fully him. Like he obviously won a major, but like he's still struggling here and there. He's not just Tiger Woods again. Serena is still Serena Williams. That's crazy.
Well, and you talk about a body that changes after having a baby. She's also 37. 37. And doing this, it's pretty incredible. As you get older, obviously when you play tennis, on the knees, the hard courts, the different surfaces, that does affect you. And it's incredible that she's still doing it at this level. And don't give me this crap that, women's tennis suffers because they're not as good. No, she is a freak of an athlete, and that has to be respected. You know, LeBron at his age, look at how many miles LeBron has on his body, and still he's able to do what he's able to do.
All these old people playing tennis, like you just hear tennis, it's like, yeah, it's a sport, but it's also like old people play tennis, and because you talk about, it's really hard on the knees. Basketball's harder than it. You don't see a lot of old people rolling up to the Y to still play. There's like the one guy that's like 50, and it's like, who's that guy?
Outside and shoots threes.
You don't see old people like playing flag football, but they just keep playing tennis. Is it just? I've never played tennis.
Yeah. I played it. It's fun.
Pickleball. Pickleball's a lot of fun.
Oh, boy.
What is a pickleball?
Yikes.
It's a game that you play when you visit your family in Florida.
I was going to say, that sounds about as white as cornhole. I'm very, I don't know how you play that.
Is it whiter than it might be whiter than cornhole. I think it's whiter than cornhole.
Well, we'll see if she can do it. It happens this Saturday. She's taking on, as I said, Simona Halep, who crushed her semifinal opponent, Elina Svitolina, 6-1 to 6-3. But the thing that helps Serena, as I said, she has won 9 out of the 10 matchups over Simona. So certainly the odds are in her favor. We'll see if she shows up. I think if she keeps calm, because we've seen her blow up. When she blows up, she usually loses. So hopefully if she stays calm and focuses on, she'll get the job done.
She had a kid. She got those mother instincts now.
Okay.
The killer instinct. Protect your kid.
I guess so. Maybe, yes. Never mind.
I don't know if that factors
Let's
into
move on to our
this tennis match at all.
Let's move on to our last story, and it's a little bit of a shout out to someone who's been on the guest been a guest on the show a couple of times. Jennifer Sturger, married name Jennifer Decker. Her husband Cody Decker just recently retired from professional baseball after more than 1,000 games in the minor leagues and just 8 games in the big leagues. Cody Decker finished his career in the most dramatic way possible. He hit a walk-off home run to win the game at 10-9 for his Reno Aces over that team from Sacramento. He was mobbed by his teammates when he reached the plate and smartly didn't jump up and go down, just kind of jumped a little bit, hopped into the plate so as not to injure that knee, because he's working on a nonprofit in El Paso next and going to be hosting a national radio show with his wife, Jennifer, who's been on the show a couple of times. Pretty incredible stuff, and a lot of reaction online for Cody doing this. I saw this video get passed around all areas of social media. Pretty incredible, Mark.
ESPN,
you know him and you've met
Peter
him.
Gammons,
Yep.
every bigwig in baseball talking about how great this is for Cody Decker. What an achievement it is. I mean, hitting a walk-off home run to have the career that Cody has had is enough for most people. Mm-hmm. But Cody, he's such a great performer in addition to just being a baseball player. He's got that flair for the dramatic, and it's like this is like the natural meets Bull Durham. I mean, it was so exciting to see that. He had a great retirement press conference, and he deserves all the accolades that he's getting right now. I'm good buddies with him and his wife Jen, and you know, they're great people. They're a great couple. They're really good at doing the Dirty Dancing lift, and I've seen it. I've witnessed it. Yeah. It's impressive, and I could not be happier for my buddy.
He certainly has a career in television. I've seen him do host a number of segments and what have you. Very fun, very cool guy to watch
Knows
on
a lot about
TV.
movie trivia.
Does know a lot about movie trivia.
I never got a chance to meet him personally, but again, just looking back at his accolades, the way that's the perfect way that everybody wants to retire.
Yeah,
that is the absolute perfect way for you to be like, cool, I'm out. That's the ultimate mic drop moment that you could think of. You know what I mean? The only thing beyond that is on a championship, but that's fine. That's totally, this is a personal, wonderful moment. And I wish the both of them the best of luck, man. Go kill that national radio show. That's going to be amazing.
Yeah, comics don't get that opportunity to have that
one last joke.
Yeah.
No, because our last joke is something that's controversial, and we get banned from society forever. That's how comics end. And then
I guess
here lies a comic, and it has specials, and then but then he said that, and then nobody ever hired him again.
You could go. You could just die early, and then they go, damn, you remember he had a dope ass joke in his last special. Yo, rest in peace.
Actually, that's right. Yeah, our life expectancy isn't that long.
Yeah.
But, really? Winston has not met Cody yet, but maybe future Schmodown, Marshall Decker.
Oh,
bring it on.
That's a good one. I like that. Maybe
happen.
a toe-to-toe.
Could happen.
You could see it. I'll still beat that team.
There's the outlaw.
Wow, there it is.
There's the outlaw.
That's fine.
Joking.
You gotta win the things that you can, since the Redskins ain't doing nothing.
No, you
there's
have
the
to
shot.
do that to me.
There's
all
the
right,
shot.
no matches for any.
Fair. All right, well, that's our show today for this live episode of Collider Sports Time. I want to thank everybody who took the time to watch us and to listen to us, if you're listening to us on the podcast format. Also, everybody in the chat, what a lively chat it was today. If I didn't get to your comment, I apologize, but a lot of you going at each other, so I couldn't really intervene while you're going at each other. It was like Switzerland with that, but over 109 people watching us. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And as I said, Captain Dingleberry, just all over it. Just all over this thing. A lot of stuff to talk talk about here. So, all right. Well, I want to thank. He's saying, get him on the Schmodown. LOL Roca. Also, he's the one that made that 3 to 6 comment. So
all those comments,
CP3,
all the comments from all the fans. You decided to highlight the one that says LOL Roca.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, you jumped over.
We get it. It's your show.
I'll give him one last shot. Captain Dingleberry also said that Phillip Rivers is about to birth his own NFL team. He's had one more kid away from having his own.
I keep
NFL.
forgetting
That's
this.
Pretty funny.
This dude has more babies than yards in his career.
Yeah, he does.
That's just wild.
He has 1,000 yards for every baby, I think, per season. Pretty incredible.
He's got a fleet of Chevy Astros.
Exactly. Let's go around the table. Winston, where can people find you, my friend? Thanks so much for coming on, man.
Thank you for having me. You can find me on the social medias at the Swaggy Blurred, TheSwaggyBlerd, Twitter, Instagram, and I'm reviving the YouTube channel. I got some sketches coming up, so go check that out. That's what's up.
All right, Mark, where can they find you, brother?
You can find me this coming week in San Diego for Comic-Con, American Comedy Company, Thursday night, 2 shows, 7:30, 9:30, completely different lineups. Will Roca appear on one of them? You'll have to go find out. I'm headlining both shows. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of special guests popping in, so you can get tickets at markellislive.com. Sing it, Johnny.
There you go. Yes. Thanks, everybody, for watching. You can follow me at the Roca.
Sing it.
Thanks, everybody, for watching. What the never-ending story? I don't know what I'm supposed to say.
Never read a story.
I want to give one last thing. Haskell 420 said, "Great show, guys." John, please give Mark a shout out from Haskell. There you go.
Haskell.
I don't know what that means,
Rock
but
and
there
roll.
you go.
I don't even know where Haskell is. I know Haskell Street. I got a homie that live there.
Oh boy. All right. That's the After Hours Sports Time. Thanks, everybody. Follow me at The Roca Says on Twitter and on Instagram. And like I say every week, please subscribe to the channel. See that red button there? Hit it on YouTube. If you're listening to us on podcast, subscribe there as well. Shout out to Adam Smith, who compiled all the graphics and switched the show for us. Thanks so much, Adam. We'll see you next week.
Hail to the Redskins.
For another episode of Sports Time.
How about them Cowboys?